My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Jacqueline Ganim-DeFalco, Nina Goodick, John Abisamra, Tina Frassica, Pam Stratton, Rob Diebboll, Kathy Roberts, and Cindy Efinger, all of whom are members of the Cape Ann Artisans, a collective of highly accomplished artists and craftspeople based in Gloucester and Rockport. Established in 1980, they're renowned for hosting one of the oldest continuous open studio tours in the United States. During the program, we're learning all about the upcoming spring tour taking place on June 7th and 8th, and how the public can go about visiting and engaging with the group members in their studios, observe their processes, and purchase original works. Let's start by meeting our guest and then hearing all about the Cape Ann Artisans and the upcoming June 7th and 8th studio tour. Welcome. So delighted you're all able to be here. I've really admired all of your work, had the opportunity to view online, eager to see it in person and hear about much more about it today. But before we jump right to that, Pam, would you please start by informing us a little bit about the mission of the Cape Ann Artisans and how that's evolved since the group's founding?
Well, I think it's really stayed the same since the group's founding. The goal was to interact with the community, to invite people into our studios to get to see how art is made rather than just showing up in a retail setting, and to support one another. It really started in the very beginning, I guess in the 80s, where a group of artist friends, professional artists, decided that they wanted to support each other and start to expand and really try some new things for marketing. So they started to have potluck dinners and brainstorm together different ways of really getting their creative juices going and sharing. And from that potluck, 14 people came together and created what they called the Cape Ann Artisans and designed the first studio tour. So way back then, there's no social media. So they, mimeographed the map and they invited their clients. And what they discovered was that people loved that people
Mhm.
loved going into their studio spaces, however they were, messy, neat, whatever, to see the process. So from that beginning, it really just caught on, and it's been going on for 41 years, 42 years now, and it's pretty amazing. It changes, it ebbs and flows with members. We've performed or put on exhibitions in all kinds of venues, from museums to different galleries and all over the Boston and Cape Ann. So it really
Incredible, incredible.
friends sharing. And the
That's
name
fabulous.
Cape Ann Artisans came because it bridges that gap between fine artists and craftspeople. So they felt that it really did the job of summarizing it.
And we'll definitely hear that as we hear from all the members today. Moving on, Jacqueline, what should visitors expect to experience during the upcoming June 7th and 8th studio tour?
Well, I think the first thing is I always encourage people to plan the tour a little bit in advance and take a look at the map and figure out which media they're interested in. You don't have to go in the order, although it's fun to go in the order geographically, it makes sense. But you may not be interested in everything, so you can kind of, pick and choose because it is difficult to do it all in one day. I think that's a little bit of the challenge. People do try. But then you're
Mm.
going to find some fun signage, some pink signs, pink flags that tell you about the tour. You can't really miss them. They'll be all along the tour route. And when you find your way through these neighborhoods, just the getting there is really fun with some great vistas. And then when you get to the venue, you will find your way to the actual artist studio. You might also enjoy some beautiful gardens from some of the artists as well.
Mhm.
And then in the studio, all the tools and lots of artwork for sale. I have to remember, we definitely want to make sure people go home with a piece of art if they're interested. It's a lot of fun to talk to the artist about the piece and effectively take a little piece of Cape Ann home through the eyes of one of the artists. So the artist will love to show you. There are some demos that are going to happen on both days that are going to be listed on our website. And later on, we'll talk about getting on the email list, and that's the best way to stay informed.
Yeah, I have to say it's a wonderful website. Gave me so much interesting background information about the group and about the upcoming tour. Rob, Jacqueline mentioned the self-guided maps, which is fabulous, and we're seeing it in front of us here. Would you share just a little bit of how it works and perhaps what's the best way to plan a route?
Sure, Jay. Yeah, there's a couple ways to get the map. You can look at it online as you are now, but you can also download the brochure PDF from our website. You can download it to your device or you can print it out, but you can also pick up a hard copy at many locations on Cape Ann, including the Chamber of Commerce, inns, shops, etc., or even at our studios as you are on the tour if you don't have one. The brochure has info about every studio, as you said, and the map shows the suggested route to follow the numbered studios. The brochure also has some brief info about each of our local sponsors, including places to eat, places to stay. To assist in planning your route, our website has more details, as you just mentioned, Jay, and image galleries for each artisan. You can follow the numbered route or you can make your own self-guided one. You can make a day of it or even stay overnight if you're from out of town. And before I even was invited to join the tour, my wife and we love going on the tour just to discover all these places that you wouldn't normally see just driving around. There are some really hidden gems in each of the studios.
Fabulous, fabulous. We're going to move on and hear from all of you individually a little bit about your craftsmanship and what you're looking forward to with the upcoming tour. And like to start with you, Jacqueline, just to hear a little bit, what's your association been with the tour?
Well, I think this is my 12th year on the tour. And yeah, I started in when we did our show with the Cape Ann Museum. So that was a lot of fun. And so there's a lot to this whole thing, as you can see. But I've really kind of grown, my work has kind of grown alongside the tour. So it's been very interesting. And you can see I work with sea glass, and I really let the materials guide me in terms of what they are going to be in their next life. This is one of my fun collections that we're showing here. These are anchor lariats, so they look like a mushroom anchor. That came directly out of looking in my garden at an anchor that was sitting there. It's very nautical, so it's appropriate. And every year I try to focus on a different theme. Because I find that people coming on the tour really love to see new things each year. They like the old things, but they want to see something new. And I think in general, as an artist, you should always be, looking to the next to add to your collection. So this is jewelry, and I focus on jewelry and hair accessories.
And I know we can see where you are in your studio. How do you prepare your studio for guests? Do you change the space or the look?
I change it every tour, actually, but I think I finally have found the right combination of things. I've just inherited a bunch of interesting jewelry cases, and they are not going anywhere. So I think from now on, but I do a lot of cleaning and washing the floor, and then make sure that I have some goodies for people when they come and some, some beverages. And this year we're doing a drawing, so we're going to have that to add to our, to the fun when people. I try to really make people feel welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you. Moving on, Nina, welcome. Would you share a little bit about your association with Cape Ann Artisans and the tour?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you for inviting us all to speak about the Cape Ann Artisans tour today. This is my first year. I'm super excited to be with this group of artists. They're amazing, strong, talented people. So just hanging out with them is going to make me better. I enjoy making pottery. That's my thing. Probably easier, Jackie, for you to clean your floor than it is for me to clean mine after I've been throwing. I work with stoneware and porcelain. I find that the things I care about and the people I care about find their way into my pottery studio. So I have family here that have been fishing for 5 generations, commercial fishermen.
Hmm.
So because of that, I find a lot of things from the ocean that remind me of my father and my grandfathers. And so fish find their way into my studio. So
What do you hope visitors and others appreciate or come away with from viewing your artwork?
I hope that they'll get a better sense of me, why I do it, you know, what they, and maybe find a connection to it also. I'd like to do functional pottery. So I like somebody to use a mug that I make or really enjoy a bowl. So that's important to me.
And maybe briefly, the wonderful pieces we're enjoying in front of us, what was the inspiration for them?
Oh, that's a great story. So Roger Babson was someone who lived here 100 years ago. And during the time of the Great Depression, the quarrymen were losing their jobs and out of work. So Roger Babson put them to work by carving these amazing inspirational mottos into stones up in a place called Dogtown Common. And what I find most relevant is that the words that he put in there 100 years ago are so important today. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my favorite piece.
Oh, terrific. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
John, welcome. Would you please share your association with the artisans and the tour?
Yes, hi. My name's John Abisamra, and this is, I believe, my 3rd year as an artisan. My specialty is photography, and my workshop is in 2 places. Most of it's spent in the great outdoors.
Hmm.
I am constantly hiking and looking for new places to photograph. Cape Ann is just a beautiful place. I've lived here now for 10 years, and
Hmm.
the amazing scenery that you see, both landscape, the water, the boats, the lighthouses. It's I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And so that's you can see, if you can see now, I have large canvas or metal or paper images of the mostly of Cape Ann, but really I've been all over the world traveling with my camera, and that's pretty much my passion.
Hmm. Just a quick word. I mean, the stunning image that we see in front of us, just a little backstory, very briefly, how it came about.
Yeah, so this house is that you see is called the Burnham House. It's in Essex, and most people who live in the area call it the motif that is in Rockport, the famous motif of Essex. And I've driven by this place many times as this isolated home, and the conditions, the sun had just set
Hmm.
on this day and just burst with this pink cloud came out. The water was still, the tide was high, and the reflections were amazing.
Oh,
And
stunning,
yeah.
stunning. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Tina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Would you please start by sharing your association with the artisans and the tour?
Well, this year is my first year as an artisan. I was invited to join the group this year, but in previous years, I was right along with other people going on the tour and enjoying all of their studios. So I'm looking forward to the tour and to inviting people in and showing them my work.
Well, speaking of your work, would you share just a little bit of what we're enjoying in front of us?
This is a quilt that I called Tumbling Blocks. It's a fun piece. I've done several quilts that had blocks in them, and it was a challenge to figure out how to make the individual blocks look as though they've tumbled off the top. But I grasped onto that challenge and it came out better than I expected, actually.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's a fun quilt that could be hung on a wall, used as a baby quilt or a couch quilt, you know, whatever people would want. But I generally put a sleeve in the back of my quilts so that people can hang them in case that's what they want to do.
Terrific, terrific. And just a quick note, what appeals to you about quilting?
Gee, there's so many things. You know, I learned to sew as a child from my mother. And so, of course, it was all about making clothes and, you know, showing those off. And then when I had started having children of my own, I visited Lancaster, Pennsylvania, several times and fell in love with the quilts of the Amish ladies. I didn't have enough time at that point, being a young mother, to try my hand at it. But in recent years, when I've had more time, I went back to it, and I just love it. I love the color. I love working with fabric. And right now there's a real resurgence in making quilts. And
most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful modern quilters out there. And
well, thank you for that background information. And we're going to move on to hear from you, Pam. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here. This is fun.
Just a little bit of background with your association with the Artisans and the tour.
Well, I joined in 2010.
Dark is exactly why it's getting worse.
Whoops. I joined in 2010, and now I'm acting as president. We all share tasks, and we work very hard together to put on a tour. But when I first started, so 15 years ago, I was doing mosaic work with Italian glass and stone, more with glass, very brightly colored stone. And as you can see in this piece, it's very different. One of the things I love to do is experiment and to try new techniques. And over the past couple of years, I've been playing with a process called eco-printing, which allows me to take the tannins out of a leaf and take that and imprint it onto paper or fabric. So I've started to do that, and then I'll allow that image that I capture from that process to guide me into making a mosaic, which is kind of fun because it adds a layer of spontaneity to what I'm creating, just by what inspired me from what I'm seeing right in front of me. And for some reason with the eco-printing, I like to match it with stone. In this series, I called it Echoes of the Garden.
It sounds like from the little background you provided, you enjoy that playfulness and just the craftsmanship in general.
Yeah, you can see in here, there's little minerals and there's little pieces of glass that are brightly colored that are red and yellow. And that's because I also teach classes in my studio. And over the years, I've amassed a large amount of glass leftovers from when people are learning because there's a lot of waste. And I've learned how to melt that down and mix the colors together, melt it down and pull it while it's hot to make a thread. And then I can use those threads to make new artwork, put it into jewelry that I make, or incorporate it into a mosaic.
Wonderful, wonderful. And maybe just a quick word, how you prepare your studio for visitors.
I clean it. I'm a very messy girl. I always have 2 or 3 different things going on at once. So I make sure that it's nice and clean and welcoming, you know, and easy to move around in, and have a refreshment. Just be very welcoming. I have a nice garden too, a big garden, and a very tall mosaic tree out there that I've installed mosaics in. So I think the same as Jackie, just be very welcoming, and it's fun to hear people's questions and curiosity about the process.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Rob, welcome. would you share a little bit about your association, and then we'll hear about the stunning image we see in front of us?
Sure, Jay. Yeah, I'm an oil and watercolor painter, primarily oils. I've been working on Cape Ann for over 40 years now.
Wow.
This is my 12th year, though, on the tour, and it's been an invaluable way of inviting both the local and the wider communities into my studio to discover my work. Many come from out of town. I've shipped pieces all over the country, actually. I work on the beach with an easel, umbrella, and lunch. Uh, or I also work a lot in the studio to make more large, complex pieces. My subject can be just nature, like what you're looking at there, like the study of water and light. But I'm also well known for my figures, people and dogs, or whoever's on the beach that day. Especially the dogs, people, dog lovers, owners are passionate. A lot of great feedback from the dog lovers.
What
And dogs
appeals
are
to
welcome
you?
to you as well.
What appeals to you about working in oils and watercolor?
Well, they're two really opposite mediums, and they kind of give me great feedback in different ways. Watercolor is unforgiving, spontaneous, everything shows, but it's also a very zen way of working for me. It's an easy thing to take to the beach as well, so that's I'll take watercolor or ink. I work with ink brush drawings. But oil is really for making more complex, large, is more of a longer term meditative way of working. And I just love the feel of the oil on the canvas. It's always been my first love.
And what are some thoughts you hope visitors or others come away with after viewing your work?
Well, I tell you the most common feedback I get is a feeling of peace when people come into my studio, peaceful, and that's always very gratifying to hear that.
Well, it definitely comes across in the piece that we're enjoying right here. Thank you for sharing.
Yep.
Kathy, welcome. Before we hear about this piece that you're sharing with us, could hear a little bit about your background with the artisans and the tour.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for the invitation, Jay. This is fun. I'm one of the new artists, one of the 5. So this will be my first time doing the tour. But I started painting over 36 years ago. But I had to raise a family and kids, and so I just dabbled in it. And then the last 5 or 6 years, I've been painting full time, and that's mostly watercolor painting.
And just a quick word about the inspiration for what we're enjoying here.
Well, that artist right there is me. And this was in Maine, in Ogunquit on Marginal Way,
Oh,
which is a
yeah.
very popular walking tour for people. And we travel there yearly. So my husband took some pictures, but actually there was a photographer, or it might have been an artist that was walking by. She took the picture and got my email and sent it to me. So even though I was painting that day on Marginal Way, I later came home and used the photo and did some more paintings.
Nice.
So,
Oh, it is such an
yeah.
incredible view and walk. I can almost picture where you are on the way, and we'll definitely
Yes.
try to match it up this coming summer. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cindy, welcome. Could we please hear about your experience with the artisans and the tour, and then what we're enjoying in front of us?
Sure. Thank you for having us, Jay. Yeah, I'm fairly new. This is my first year as an artisan, a Cape Ann artisan, but I have done the tours several times. My husband and I would try to go to all of them and be exhausted by the time we were finished, but we really enjoyed it. Um, I have pretty much been an artist my whole life. I actually started in photography, had my own studio in photography, and then kind of branched out. And, you know, if life takes you along, I started teaching a little bit, and then eventually ended up with carving. And I sculpted a lot with gourds, mostly because the wood is so soft and you can really actually work with that. And then I do a lot of traveling, and I got introduced to mosaics. And so I decided, you know, let me just try putting a little bit of glass on mosaics. And I got into different substrates and learning how to apply glass to different kind of substrates. And then it was, how do the tones work, and how can I work with the tones with glass to get them to, like, particularly this image, you know, can they bleed into one or another kind of a thing. So it was a lot of work. I'm a self-taught artist. So I spend a lot of times getting my inspiration through going to museums or galleries, even Pinterest. You know, if there's something I don't understand, I may spend times either working with Pam Stratton, because I'm taking workshop with her, because I feel as an artist, you can always learn and grow, and you should, you know, the collaboration we have as artisans is super important. So I just keep learning. I never stop learning. I never stop observing. I get excited. I just really get excited working with glass and different substrates. And
thank you very much. That
Yeah.
seems to be a theme from all the group members that we've heard from today. And in closing, Pam, what advice would you give first-time visitors to maybe get the most out of the studio tour that they might?
Well, I think what Jackie has already said, to take your time. I think it's nice to really plan, look at what you're most interested in, plan a nice lunch, you know, sort of see what part of the Cape Ann you'd like to see. And if you can do both days, that's great, but to really take your time so you can enjoy it rather than rush from one place to another just as a task to get it all done. There's so much to see and so many wonderful people to speak with.
Nice. Just briefly, would you add to that, Rob, are children and families that come encouraged to attend?
Yes, Jay, we welcome families very strongly. This is in fact common. Parents often bring their children or their student artists. They bring their parents too. My favorite experiences actually are when young children come in, and often they're often very frank observations about.
Yeah, children have that ability, definitely, definitely. And in closing, Jacqueline, how can visitors and others stay connected with all the artists or support local art year-round?
Well, we definitely encourage people to take a look at our website. We have a fabulous series of blogs called From the Studio. And of course, we also try to keep people up to date on any new information, for example, like the demos. We have an email list, and right there on the homepage of the website on the left side, people can sign up for that. And we don't pummel people with emails. We only do it 6 times a year. We're on social media at Cape Ann Artisans on all of the different, on Facebook, on Instagram, and even on Twitter. Oh, X, sorry. And of course, our fabulous brochures, which are found all over town. If somebody isn't able to get one in advance, they're at all of our local visitor places here on Cape Ann and on Route 128, 95 South, Visitor Center from the north of Boston. And we're also on Eventbrite. We do our best. We're on all kinds of community calendars, Boston Globe calendar. We really do our best to get the word out, to encourage people to come from all over.
Terrific,
So join us.
terrific. Well, we'll definitely have the website and the credits following. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank all of you so much for taking the time to be here. It's been fascinating, even though it's been just a little tease. It's been more than enough to make viewers and others want to visit and come on the upcoming tour, June 7th and 8th. All the best with that and with future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.